Visitors to the University of Notre Dame often pause before the east door of the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. The inscription there reads, God, Country, Notre Dame. It honors alumni who died in World War I. To generations of graduates, these words have come to define the university. In particular, they describe the career of its President Emeritus, Father Theodore Martin Hesburgh of the Congregation of Holy Cross. Hesburgh came to Notre Dame as a newly minted Ph.D. in 1945. He was to teach theology and serve as chaplain to veterans of another war. He went on to serve as Notre Dame's president for more than 3 decades, transforming the university academically before retiring in 1987. One of the longest and most distinguished tenures in American higher education. His 150 honorary degrees speak to the impact he had on the fields of education and religion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure for me.
But his many honors also underline a remarkable career in public service, one that has made him one of the most influential priests of his time.
He is Father Theodore Martin.
His presence on the national scene began with President Dwight Eisenhower. The president was looking for someone from the humanities to serve on the National Science Board. He appointed Hesburgh in 1954. Hesburgh proved to be a good listener, a team player who did his homework, a person who could disagree without being disagreeable. Word spread about this young, bright priest, and over a span of a half-century, Hesburgh served on some 150 advisory bodies, 16 of them at the behest of a sitting U.S. president. At one point, a Washington Post columnist observed, "For a few perilous moments last month, the federal government was left dangling without the services of the Reverend Theodore M. Hesburgh." He gave priority to issues that had moral overtones: civil and human rights, third and fourth world development, immigration and refugees, nuclear proliferation. "Unless you do outside things," he once said, "you run out of gas. I only take on things where I think I can bring some fruit back to campus."
I've known Father Hesburgh for a long, long time. His reputation as one who stood for and worked for world peace goes far beyond any political boundaries, far beyond the boundaries of the United States of America. He is a true man of peace, and I have great respect for Father Ted.
Hesburgh got to know several of the nation's chief executives as he became a familiar face in Washington. Presidents sought him out for challenging assignments. He tackled third-rail issues like clemency for Vietnam offenders and immigration reform. In recognition of his contributions to the Commonwealth, President Lyndon Johnson gave him the nation's highest civilian honor, the Medal of Freedom. Hesburgh often invited occupants of the White House to Notre Dame.
He honored me in my first year in the White House by inviting me to Notre Dame when human rights was becoming the foundation of our foreign policy. And it's a kind of contribution that he's made to many other leaders, and of course he's a leader himself.
One president came more than once, possibly because he thought he once played football there. Hesburgh's crowning achievement in public service was as a member of the Civil Rights Commission from 1957 to 1972. During his last 3 years, he served as its chair. His tenure included the historic 1960 civil rights legislation in education, housing, and jobs that broke the back of segregation in America. He once wrote, "I do not care if the U.S. gets a man on the moon, if while this is happening, we on our corner of the earth nurse our prejudices and flout our beloved Constitution." We should take this stance for human dignity because it is right and any other stance is wrong. When the mayor and Archbishop of Chicago turned down invitations to a Martin Luther King rally in their city, Hesburgh drove up from South Bend to link arms with the civil rights leader.
The key to the success of the civil rights movement was to keep it from being a radical leftist movement and recognize that it was truly a movement coming out of the Judeo-Christian U.S. constitutional tradition of justice. Well, nobody could represent all of those forces like Father Ted could. And he did it in such a quiet, unassuming, non-judgmental way that when he was with you, you didn't have to worry about who was against you.
The leverage of the Civil Rights Commission for Social Change was the public spotlight, and not every president enjoyed being in it. With Hesburgh presiding, the commission began giving out report cards on how well the federal government was advancing civil rights. The administration of Richard Nixon received failing grades, and after his re-election in 1972, the president forced Hesburgh's resignation.
There's hardly anything I've done that didn't have a relationship to justice or human rights or peace.
Conversant in 5 languages, Notre Dame's president was something of a world citizen. He racked up more than 2 million miles, visiting more than 130 countries. He concentrated on the global issues of poverty and hunger. He often described Earth as a spaceship on which 25% of its passengers consume 80% of its resources. There were many jobs for Hesburgh over the years, but only one identity, that of a priest. In presenting him with the Congressional Gold Medal, President Bill Clinton put it this way.
All of your friends, the people who have known you over the years and admired everything you've done for civil rights and world peace and for Notre Dame, would say that the most important thing about you and the greatest honor you will ever wear around your neck is the collar you have worn for 57 years.
I want to conclude by thanking God that I could be born an American, thanking God that I could live during these years and be inspired by so many wonderful people, including many of you out there. To live in a country where you can honestly work for justice and people give you cheers. In a country where you can dream and where you can see it grow in beauty and goodness.